Hello, and welcome back to Genshin Impact Audible. I've been putting off this stream for far too long, and I'm not sure if I should even do it, but I guess I should. Dang it, my resin. Give me a second. Okay,
たまにはのんびり。せっかくのチャンスだ。本気を出して俺を楽しませてくれ。投稿も一つの選択だよ。俺は敗者に優しいからね。
気ぃつけるぜ。
悪くないね。褒めてあげよう。狂乱のごとく疾風怒涛。捕まえた。会議だけじゃダメだよ。ついてきて。
too easy. So unceremonious. Ah, nice. I've got stuff. Alright. That'll do. And that should be enough. I'll probably go to Bottle Land to read this stuff. Why not? It's some exclusive OST. Yeah. Let's read on top of the whole thing on the Ferris wheel. guess it doesn't matter. I mean, I stop time when I do it. Let's wait till we're at the very top. Let's change the time to nighttime. Because everyone loves nighttime. Maybe more nighttime. There we go, and then we go to archive. Alright, books. What are we up to? Ah yes, I haven't finished Toki Alley Tales yet. Man, collecting that is a pain in the arse. But I did get like a bit more. Legend of the Sword, what's new? Expand. Volume 6. Alright. Can't even remember what it's about. Captain, forgive my bluntness, but you were sleeping the whole time during that meeting earlier. Huh? So you noticed. So you're sitting quite upright. You were sitting quite upright, but I've seen this happen too many times before. Captain, I'd asked you to not use your training as a martial artist in this manner. A written report isn't gonna save you if the fleet commander hears of this. So Mahasti said, but in truth, no one had ever dared to touch his superior amidst the delicate balance that Allied Fleet Command maintained internally. His middle-aged captain and superior, Bichu Kyubei, also known as Shinkuro, now also known as Semimaru, using some truly lame pronunciation, was the very same person who everyone was trying to court to their side, and the one most likely to break this deadlock. This was a whole decade ago now, Shinkuro thought to himself quietly. That one victorious battle at Asada village, on reflection, had been nothing but a minor test of Shinkuro's military prowess. But for the parties involved, this could be called the beginning of the disaster. As expected, the Tai Shogun would not permit such a talented person to wander in the wild. Not long after, Shinkuro would be blinded in both eyes and thrown into jail. This state of affairs lasted until 5 years ago, when the Imagawa clan was defeated by an allied army formed under the Ome Daimyo clan, beheading its leader in the process. From then, the nation and its people would finally experience a period of peace. That was what the new Sei Tai Shogun told Shinkuro personally, while the latter was in prison. Shinkuro had never in his life seen the common folk able to work and live in peace. And peace? Able to work and live in peace. I think that's what I meant to say. There's a typo here. And this strange Tai Shogun was likely no saint either. The general amnesty was something that simply had to be done to win the people over. As he reminisced, Shinkuro could not help but sigh. Whether in the past or now, people like him would always be at the center of the vortex, whether they liked it or not. As far as this country is concerned, people like me are traitors. And I suppose that is also the case in this vast universe. The Shogun looked at the sitting Shinkuro and spoke in an indifferent voice. The imperial tax is no longer something that this tiny planet in a corner of the universe can take up. And someone of your ability should be free to flex it amidst the stars. Your clan and given names were taken by that Cretan Imagawa, yes, but abandon that past. From now on, you shall be known as Semimaru. Yes, someone who no longer had a past. Someone whose eyes could no longer behold the many wonders of the universe. Now its vastness opened before him. In essence, the great battle in space is no different from the armed conflict between commoners, which took place 10 years ago on that barren planet. Soon the name of that man shall be known across the galaxy, matching that of the Emperor. It's been a while since I've read this. Is it supposed to be Star Rep? Tale of Shiryu and Shirin. I mean, Siren? Oh, this is new. Let's see. Volume 1. A genie tells a tale in the night wind, a story about itself and a shepherd. It's a story of unknown origin, and is full of absurdities. The next story I'll tell comes from the age of Shiryu, the Lord of Pestilence. Though at this time, that vassal ruler had not yet gained notoriety for Shiryu's plague, nor had his subjects been scattered amidst a world of darkness, left to become wild creatures who had lost their language and faces. The fairy of the Moon Maiden's city paused for a moment, then stretched out lazily. The moonlit silver coins jangled on her wrists and ankles, as if displeased with the jouncing of the sumpter beast. Anyway, little raven. Little raven. Do you know the meaning of the name Shiryu? The one who is ridiculous and despicable? The youth, whom she had rather one-sidedly named Raven, answered casually, suffering the heat of the sun and the threat of quicksand. He had little interest in his travel companion's stories. Oh, this one's a boy. In our tribe, Shiryu is a disgraceful name branded only onto the foreheads of exiled chiefs and spoken only in curses and mockery. It's a tradition of ours, but I'm sure that the traditions of other tribes are not so different. Mortal awareness is just like quicksand, shifting with the winds of time. How bizarre. Raven replied perfunctorily, drawing an unexpectedly enthusiastic taunt from the fairy. No, actually, in the lost language, Shiryu means unweaned lying cub. His father, Pavez Ravan, gave this name to his newborn son, oblivious that he, the vassal king who referred to himself as the spirit of unceasing victory, would be torn apart by his own beloved lion cub. The fairy paused, seemingly afraid that her audience was getting bored, and exchanged glances with the youth before continuing her tale. As for this Parvezravan, legend has it that in the days when mortals ruled as vassal kings, he was one of the mightiest among them. Parvezravan was not, in fact, the original name of this vassal king. As the spirits tell it, he was an orphan who was raised in the nest of the giant bird Gognus and given the name Kisra, or one who has been bestowed a good name. Later, his aspiration to greatness and the aid of this divine bird saw him adopted by the vassal king Ormazd Shah and he would eventually rise to become a sage and hero among mortals. In the songs of the now vanished desert people, Kisra plundered the four corners of the land in the name of his king, Almast Shah. By his hand, the bronze and mortar towers of 99 cities were destroyed or abandoned. By his hand, the leaders of 99 nomadic tribes were defeated. And by his hand, 99 sages with knowledge of the Order of the Stars were bound in golden chains, then led back to the towering royal city of Gurubad to be imprisoned. At that time, the promised land of Valivia was engulfed by wild gilded sands, and one of the three living gods had fallen. Or the three living gods. Amidst a century of chaos and confusion, the scattered mortals ensconced themselves in vassal states until my lord Al-Akmar and the sage king of the Greenwood gathered their subjects. Once the oasis paradise was reconstructed, the age of the vassal kings, the age of division, finally came to a close. Returning to our preceding tale, Omar's crown grew all the more valuable on the back of Kisra's exploits, until finally his own neck could no longer bear its weight, forcing him to leave it ever suspended from chains of pure gold in the center of the main hall. The vassal king Almast Shah rewarded young Kisra's unrivaled achievements amply. He bestowed the name Parvez upon his adopted son and offered his daughter Shirin's hand to him in marriage. In the ethereal songs of the spirits, as the heir of both the mortal vassal king and the foremother Lilufar, she possessed superior wisdom and was blessed with an infinite lifespan, and, like the original sages, could foresee the fortunes and misfortunes of the present moment. So Shirin's supposed to be a Lilupar. If Kisra Parvez had stopped there, his reputation as a hero would have continued unblemished. But one cursed day, Almast and all 300 of his offspring suddenly died in one night in the city of Gurubad. 300? Man, Almast was a player. Following such an unthinkable event, the throne naturally fell to Kisra, who added Ravan to his title and became the most powerful vassal king among mortals. The fairy abruptly stopped her tale and looked up at the red sun that was now sinking behind the sand dunes. She then whistled sharply, signaling to the youth to halt the sumpter beast and prepare to make camp for the night under the crumbling stone pillars. Some people say, the fairy lithely leapt down from the sumpter beast and circled across the sands in a manner not unlike the long-lost dancers of Sitaria, letting the moon's first light evenly coat her translucent skin in its silvery sheen. The scent of myrrh swirled around her myriad braids as the golden bells rang out into the distance. Then the fairy leaned over slightly, balancing on the tips of her toes as she laughed softly. Some people say that the tragedy that befell the city of Gurubad was the handiwork of the hero Kisra. Some people say that the night the tragedy took place, an evil, clawless bird flew out from the redoubt and wailed throughout the night without stopping to eat or drink. The castle was then struck by a plague of rats with human faces, which gnawed at the gold chains from which the crown hung, causing the cumbersome thing to crash heavily to the ground, broken and bent. People say that the crown made such an earth-shaking noise when it fell that even the Falahin servants, who had settled and toured far from the redoubt, trembled with fear at this tyrant they had never met. Later still, it is said that an adventurer found the ancient crypts of the city of Gurabad beneath the gilded sands, in which were hidden the withered, massive remains of Ormazd and his offspring. An ancient, inscrutable inscription was left on each of the shriveled bodies. I hope this story frightened you. The fairy watched keenly as the mortal boy before her drank from the water skin. The tribes of the desert regard water with an instinctive restraint and prudence. Spirits, however, are born of pure elemental energy, and know neither thirst nor the satisfaction of the pleasure of luxury. Just like the ancient princess Shirin in this lament. As for the daughter of the foremother Lilufar mentioned, Shirin, why, our story has only just begun. This fairy smiled slightly again, her eyes like an amalgam of amber and gold, her smiling face like the princess of her ancient homeland. Volume 2. Genie tells a tale full of absurdities. Alright. At that time, the promised land of Valivia was engulfed by wild, gilded sands, and one of the three living gods had fallen. Amidst a century of chaos and confusion, the scattered mortals ensconced themselves in vassal states until my lord Al-Akmar and the sage king of the Greenwood gathered their subjects. Once the oasis paradise was reconstructed, the age of the vassal kings, the age of division, finally came to a close. Yes, you've mentioned this part of the story already. The youth's tone was rather impatient as he gazed at the full moon hanging in the starry sky, using the positions of its companion stars to determine the next day's route. But the spirit knew that he was, in truth, listening earnestly to her story. She couldn't refrain from letting out a triumphant snort, but was immediately annoyed by this unbecoming action. What's a triumphant snort? The mortal mind is as fickle as it is forgetful. How should I know whether you are listening or not? Back to the subject at hand. Shirin, according to the spirit's lamentations, was the daughter of the mortal hero Ormazd and the fairy Lilufar, the daughter of the water lily. Born upon a lily pad amid fragrant dewdrops, the white ibis blessed her, and the cobra bequeathed to her a cerulean pearl, and even the mighty giant crocodile bowed to her in worship. As the foremother of the spirits, before she delivered her daughter to the mortal vassal king, Lilufar prophesied 3 times. First, that Shirin would fall in love with a great hero, and the progeny of their union would surpass their father. Second, that many of Shirin's relatives would enjoy a sweet end, and third, that Shirin alone would be given possession of her father's kingdom. Then Lilufar gave 3 admonitions to her mortal darling. First, that her joy would bring tears to her father's eyes. Second, that they should no longer feast at the same table as their daughter after she was wed. And third, that their daughter's heir would be an ill omen upon the king's land. The king, however, only smiled at these prophecies and admonitions. Later, Shirin's father offered her hand in marriage to the great hero Parvez-Ravan, fulfilling the first prophecy, right? The youth said, interrupting the spirit's story. That's correct, though not entirely so. The spirit laid a finger on the tip of the youth's nose, and the latter hurriedly moved away. His face flushed as if he feared she might put some ethereal deathly curse on him. The spirit once again found herself amused by such an innocent act. By the time Shirin grew a little older and more cognizant, the vision her mother laid out for her became a lingering curse. She spent her days awaiting her chance to fall in love with a hero, waiting for the day when she would inherit her father's kingdom, and longing for that sweet and perfect future. But it never came. Truth be told, Shirin's marriage to the hero Kisra was not a happy one. After all, mortal heroes are all warped people harboring the ambition to rule. The daughter of Lilufar carried the pride of the spirits, and thus she found the golden trap of the mortal hero's supposed affections hard to endure. And she found no peace between the bed and the hearth. And so at last, a vivid hatred coalesced from this passionless, dull, rotten life. The same hatred that those imprisoned in the silver bottle carry. Later on, the night of the infamous grand banquet, a few lonely slaves, mages of the Mazandaran oasis, or perhaps some illiterate Falahin servants, dripped scorpion venom into musk honey and offered it to the vassal king Ormazd and his 300 heirs. They then watched as they sunk into the sweet, dreamless landscape of death, drowning in the fat and blood of the wretched as their blood and tears flowed freely. And on this night, all who remained with dreams left to enjoy were Shirin, who had been excluded from the party by her own father, and her reluctant co-conspirator and husband, Kisra. The lowly regicides were thereupon submerged in the honeypot as punishment by the new king, and they cursed him with their last breaths as they choked on the sticky honey, and from the new king's mouth gushed blackened, dirtied and bloodied lies, which gradually stained his hero's reputation in a deep black. And so the second prophecy was fulfilled. Later, Shirye, the son of Kisra Parvez Ravan, grew to adulthood beloved by his mother, but was banished by his father from the towering city of Gurabad, made by his father to hide his face and flee on a fast steed. Shirye was henceforth forbidden from setting foot in the city again. Undoubtedly terrified of the fairy mother Lilofar's warning, it was Parvez Ravan's fixation that gave rise to the cowardice that spurred this decision. And so Shirin once again found the perfect opportunity for revenge in the vassal king's unfettered fear. One night she disguised herself as a divine princess of the temple to the moon goddess and met with her prodigal son, who had sojourned there. In the lingering silvery light that danced amidst the dew-dotted lilies, she gave the masked wayfarer this false, illusory prophecy. Is the tyranny of the wanderer's father not his greatest misfortune? O darling of the moon goddess, everywhere the moonlight touches is yours to rule, and every seed you sow shall grow and flourish. Since the moonlight has granted you a good bow and a sharp blade, why do you suffer that cowards idling upon the throne? Why not muster up the courage to face your hatred, to face yourself? Legend has it that just as Shirye hesitated in indecision, a gust of wind rushed through the night and blew the veil Shirin had used to conceal her face away. Seeing that familiar face, the young man who had been forced to cover his was instantly overcome with terror and shame. He fled the sullied temple in a panic, and laughter soft as the ringing of a bell and the cruel moonlight bore witness to his fear. The story from here is a lackluster one. The peerless vassal king, Parvez Ravan, would be stabbed to death in his bed by his own masked unfilial son. And his magnificent bed, once adorned with sapphire and golden animal horns, would be indelibly stained with his blood. The dirge of the spirits then goes like this. After committing this crime of treason, Shirye wept bitterly before his mother Shirin in repentance. But Shirin did not reprimand him. Rather, she took her beloved son into her arms, removed the brass mask symbolizing his exile, and left him with an affectionate kiss of benediction. After Shirye claimed the throne, he was long tormented by inescapable nightmares until finally, on a frenzied night of wandering, he fell into a deep black chasm in the earth and disappeared. Later, a great plague emerged from that chasm and swallowed up half of the souls in the city of Gurbad, the kingdom having lost its vassal king and its servants, fell into ruin and was gradually devoured by that insatiable yellow sand. The scattered survivors of this calamity called it Shirye's plague, the divine retribution invited by the absurdly short-lived despot himself. As for his mother Shirin, Lilufar's third prophecy was indeed fulfilled. She and the heir she bore won true freedom in a kingdom ravaged by vengeance, and they became evil apparitions, death knells to the conceited. Some people say that Shirin was later subdued by my lord Al-Akmar, who detained her in a magic silver bottle. Others say that she still roams the desert, tormenting overconfident adventurers and tirelessly searching for the beloved child that she lost to that dark world. The fairy smiled proudly, having theatrically concluded the story. At this time, the moon was already high in the sky, and the distant ancient time, when the desert had not yet become a desert, was nigh. It was time for the divine princess to hold the sacrifice. Well, yeah, this is a Lilupar story. Lilupar was Shirin. And split her soul apart. 1,000 Nights. What the hell? A folio of foliage. I'm gonna get a swig first before I read the rest of this. Oh, 3 volumes. What does it say? A biography written by researchers from ancient Sumeru. It records the trail of the Dendro Archon during the times of calamity. I dare not presume to mention her true name, let alone overstep my bounds as an earthly being, to judge the divinity she displayed then. I, Sunitha Kosamvi, a servant of shallow intellect, have merely recorded the stories heard from the sages who followed her, in the past and nowhere else. These words are as true and evident as my own existence. When the moon's shadow shattered, hordes of beasts emerged from the deepest depths of the abyss and devoured living creatures by the thousands. Of all that she had created, none could escape their destined annihilation. The goodness, peace, and wisdom she had bestowed all perished before this pure malice without exception. Under that sneering, waning moon, the black tide of decay surged over the deserts and through the valleys, turning clear springs, once interlaced with roses, into puddles of filth, defiling the earth as mortals trembled with despair. The sages called it the Black Tide, for it was a dark flood that swallowed up fields, villages, and cities. She witnessed this all with her own eyes and wept bitterly for the sorrow and suffering of the living. Her tears fell to the ground, dispelling the foul flames and giving birth to blossoms abounding with sweet dew from the once barren and scorched earth. However, the root cause of the blight still lay beneath the earth, and the shadow of death continued to obscure the once luminous moonlight. Thus she vowed to save the creatures of the earth, embarking on a radiant journey together with her servants. Okay, I guess all same descripto. Volume 2. She followed the dappled light and shade until she entered a long since ruined forest. With each step she took, 1,000 Nilopala lotuses bloomed in her wake. Every calamity, raging fires, deaths, and destruction all receded before the wonder of her wisdom. Fragrant flowers bloomed and proliferated again in this dead domain, and remain as abundant today as the gravel in the Andravi River. Even hurricanes abated into gentle exhalations before her singing, causing the bells on her lapels to sway as they rang out elegantly. All the spirits, their envoys, humans, and the inhuman, rejoiced and praised her name, for she is indeed the most sagacious and the most merciful. In the depths of the forest, she collected grass to use as an instrument, picked flowers for a crown, and played a flawless tune with a karane. In an instant, thousands of demonic troops were reduced to dust and scattered to the four winds, never to be found again. She gently brushed away the tears of the forest creatures and soothed their anguish, just as she once blew the wind of life across the barren sea of sand, like the emissary of an eternal oasis from time immemorial. But this land remained broken, its heart devoured by evil spirits and monsters who made it their dwelling, a cavern of the damned where neither sun, moon, nor fire shine. The dust they took for treasure, and the sludge served as their delicacies, like birds clad in feathers but unable to soar in the skies. So chickens. So she made a great wish, vowing that she would go into these cankered, rotted courts, setting forth on her sojourn to cleanse the withered land. All the spirits, their envoys, humans and the inhuman, all watched as she entered the hollowed heart of the mortal world and touched its timeless face. Thus did all the goodness, peace, and wisdom that she had granted unto the world become the immortal Gao Korena. Indeed, become the very earth itself. This was the moment when the pure lotuses would bloom. A flourishing sea of flowers rolled all about her, and like jade it appeared, rosy in fragrance and dewy as heavenly raiment. The songs of 100 birds surrounded her, praising the youth that she had reclaimed. The years lost by the children of humanity were nowhere to be found again, like the wind that flows through the forest. But she returned in spite of all things, showing her incandescent divinity to the world once more, just as she had in the beginning, when she sowed the first seeds into the desert sands. It is just as the hymn says. The path was made straight long ago by the path of a great vow, to break all chains and relieve all woes, and all things sure to know. The auspice of its radiant light drove foes and demons out, and amidst the rotting smoke did holy wisdom newly sprout. Behold wisdom's returning light, unclouded near or far, like sunlight through the morning sky, the moon through dome of stars. The lotuses do richly bloom in wisdom's radiant blaze. Amidst this paradise of faith, I lift my hands in praise. Nice. Anyway, Volume 3. Many have never heard her voice, and even those who heard knew not that it was her, and still she heard their wishes. And many have never seen her face, and even those who saw her knew not that it was her, and still she watched over their dreams. For few are those who tell well the tales they hear from afar, and rare are those who teach the truth they have divined with clarity. Even today, her will permeates all, and she dwells in the sanctuary of Surathana, watching over the dreams of all who live in this land, just as she did when she returned and commanded the queen of the realm of dreams to break the pure white branches and rebuild the viridescent hunting ground from amidst the withered leaves. The forest was once overrun by a tide of black beasts, and the endless labyrinth crumbled amidst the flames. The lord of all animals let out a furious roar with its dying breath, then fell, protecting all that she had entrusted to him. But her lovely dream could never be snatched away by any woe. For so long as people wait for the next night's dream expectantly, then there shall be new memories, tranquil flowers that bloom betwixt morning dew and moon dust. This is the promise that she made to the dreamers, the first and final oath. For memories are like pearls, tossed about by wind and sand, though they may be, their true, pure color shall never be changed. All beautiful dreams are like the newborn grass, though they may be consumed by sudden flame. The warm spring breeze shall bring them swaying to life again. Yeah, fight for all that's beautiful in the world. Alright, Scroll of Streaming Song. Oh boy. A torn page discovered by the desert, in the desert ruins and retrieved by researchers from the Vahumana School of the Academia. The author of this page has yet to be confirmed. When the mistress of Pushpavatika heard this, she did not hesitate to humble herself. Resolute, she descended upon the grand palace of Blank, with the intention of testing the princess's wisdom. Countless maids, servants, and escorts surrounded the ever-gleaming princess, all dressed in fine linen and silk, like thousands of daytime stars, wreathed around the only shining moon. Herbard of Haravatat, Tafazoli's remarks. There is a mistranslation here. The word silk in the last sentence should be translated as a textile that no one had ever seen before, so as not to lead the reader to confuse it with Liyue's regional specialty. Additionally, the Grand Palace mentioned in the second sentence is not a true palace in the original text, nor does it refer to any actual building. Rather, it refers to a land where the divine is present. It would seem that researchers of Vahumana who undertook the translation of this volume did not really understand the language of that era. But I shall earnestly annotate this document all the same. Of course, it will be Haravatat. The sweet fragrance lingered on the princess on that hedge, garden, battlefield, like a stream winding around the shattered silver moonlight under the shade of a tree. From ancient times till now, none have ever beheld such beauty as this, just as none have ever witnessed the descent of morning frost in the 7th month. Herbert of Haravatat's remarks, the word in the first sentence, of which the meaning cannot be determined for the time being, could also be translated as farmland or cemetery. Herbert of Vahumana Yaz haters. Many thanks for your comments, Master Tafazoli. Now we're even more confused as to who the author of this book is writing about. Thus the mistress of Pushpavatika spoke. Praise be to the Winged One. O Sephiroth, Lord over all the kingdoms of the land. I am a spirit created at the beginning. I am a flickering illusion. I am the shimmering light that flows from the eyes of the Creator. People in far-flung lands sing praises of your wisdom. I wonder then if you could help me to unravel something that has long bewildered me. I will give you these spices, gold, and precious stones as a token of my appreciation if you can solve my 3 riddles. The Princess of Blank answered thusly. Praise be to the Winged One, the truth that rules over all the kingdoms of the land. I am the owner of yesterday, and the master of tomorrow morning, but never have I seen beauty and elegance such as yours. Mistress of Pushpavatika, whatever doubts you may harbor in your mind, you may raise them with me without reservation. For these spices, gold, and precious stones, even when added together, cannot compare to the value of imparting knowledge. Volume 2. Thus the mistress of Pushpavatika spoke again. Benevolent princess, if your sincerity is true, then allow me to recite the first riddle. What is cold as the dead while alive, yet gives warmth upon death? Let me try to think about that. Cold as the dead while alive, yet gives warmth upon death. So cold alive, warm when dead. Cold alive, warm dead. I got nothing. That princess of blank answered thusly. You speak of the fragile rose of late spring. Even when covered in thorns, her beauty shines through. Her flowers plucked to make perfume, her stems snipped into the wicks of oil lamps. Lovers throughout history have been smitten by her, and even the king in red admires her beauty. But the rose had never pined for anyone. She merely withers with the new moon and morning dew. The mistress of Pushpavatika secretly approved, yet her beautiful face remained as calm as ever. Taking a casual step forward, she recited the second riddle. Okay, so it's a rose. Okay. So said the mistress of Pushpavatika. O wise princess, you have answered my first riddle, but from the stars to the abyss, many inexplicable secrets still exist in the world. O wise princess, if your wisdom is truly as the legends of the people say, please answer my second riddle as you did the first. What rises from the earth, then descends from the sky? No one has seen it, yet it sees all. As above, so below, and as at the bottom, so to the top. Yet only top to bottom may be, and never bottom to top. What? What rises from the earth, then descends from the sky. Son of Apaosha. That's probably not. That princess of blank answered thusly. You speak of the universal law created in heaven, the divine laws established in the beginning. No one has seen the eternal law, yet it governs all. One may only bow down and worship Vana of the heavenly spirits. No arrogation, deception, or trickery is permitted. If one dares to imitate the forbidden arts, only calamity awaits at the edge of divine knowledge. What? Is it universal law, divine law, eternal law? Dang it. Volume 3. The mistress of Pushpavatika almost jumped for joy, but her beautiful face remained cold. Bowing ever so slightly, she recited her third riddle. Thus said the mistress of Pushpavatika. O wise princess, you have grasped the secrets between the stars and abyss. But there are more things in this world than the transient, for some things are eternal in their brilliance. O wise princess, if your wisdom is truly as the legends of the people say, please answer my final question as you did my second riddle. What cannot stop arrows, yet can stop destruction? cannot destroy armor, yet can destroy cities. Does not submit to envoys from above, nor kingdoms down below. Nor can neither gods nor demons for all their might prevail over humans. That princess of blank answered thusly. You speak of endless wisdom. It is what protects the civilization of blank. It will be reborn with blank and remain eternal like blank. Even if the sands of time swirl beneath its feet, it will still remain like blank 10 million years after. The people will rejoice because of its blank, and it will blank because of them. Well, what is blank? Princess of blank. What word is banned? Rukadavara? The word is not technically banned. I don't know of any banned words. Heribata Haravatat Tafazoli's remarks. The omissions here are not intentional. Instead, they are due to the damaged state of the book. Some omissions are inferred from the remains of the original. Regrettably, the researchers of Ahumana who undertook the translation of this volume did not possess the relevant knowledge, so I'll make up for that in our part. The missing words in the first segment, mine, ours, eternity, or all. The missing word in the third segment seems to be a person's name, but the phrase preserved remains can be inserted too. The first missing word in the fourth segment, return or death or rebirth. The remaining words cannot be inferred at this time. Yarshter's remarks. You didn't tell me any of this at the time, huh? The princess had answered all three riddles and had no secrets. No secrets could stymie her. The mistress Pushpavatika could not help but feel utmost admiration toward the princess. Thus, the princess of Pushpavatika spoke. Mistress, yeah. Oh, benevolent, wise, and eternal princess, your wisdom does far surpass the legends. Blessed are your kin, fortunate are your people, for they can be by your side, heeding your teachings. And so the two princesses forged a strong alliance, and also with the king of blood, resentment, red crown, Akmar, who was by their side from beginning to end. They worked together, leading the people of blank to eternal prosperity. You speak of endless wisdom is what protects the civilization of eternity, ours, all. It'll be reborn with preserved remains. And remain eternal like preserved remains. Okay. Person's name means it too. Doesn't say anything about the second segment. Fourth segment. Even if the sands of time swirl beneath its feet, it will still remain like return, death, 10 million years after, rebirth. Sounds like death. The other ones cannot be told. Well, there's the books. Let's see. Living beings. Yeah, sure. Yeah, do I have anything new? Ah, yes, these guys. Alright, let's observe. Hilichurls, Hydro Hilichurl Rogue. Hilichurl Wanderers. Unaffiliated with any specific tribe. They can often be found roving the wilds as if in voluntary exile. They may also tend their aid to other Hilichurls or Hilichurl tribes for various reasons, and go their separate ways afterward. They seem to possess a higher level of intelligence than commonplace Hilichurls. Would these ones be smarter than Samatrils? The Samatrils are they're kind of elders, and they're supposed to be the smartest, or the wisest. Well, anyway. Animo Helitrail Rogue. Do not belong to any tribe. As if they're searching for fated genesis of their kind, seeking to uncover some bygone splendor that once belonged to their people. If these monsters, capable of only crude language and bereft of missing history, could record their own epics and legends, the Helitrail Wanderers would be the heroes in said tales. Yep, and I killed them all. Oh boy. Yeah. Ah, Ice Dude, right? Frostfall. A monster from the Abyss Order that wields frigid icy blades in battle. Just as they are saints who will spread and glorify the profound gospel, they are envoys who must correct any twisted strains and remove any dissonance. People often say that steel feels like ice as it pierces the body, but this dark frost is said to freeze even the soul. Very cool. Like this, it's kind of like him giving you the finger. Iniquitous Baptist. A monster from the abyss that wields multiple types of elemental power and has gained extra limbs from its evolution. Oh, right, it does have extra limbs. Kind of missed that part. The nature of the abyss is essentially irreconcilable with the elements. However, even the elements of gods can be entrapped and distorted before they are subsumed to become tools of the abyssal will. Just judging from outcomes and practical use, abyssal powers seem little different from elemental items, from ones as paltry as the treasure hoarders' elemental containers to those as powerful as visions. Notes left behind in Hanging Afrasiab by someone. Hanging Afrasiab? The hell is that? Well, we have the Black Sentinel, a Black Serpent Knight, or Rockbreaker Ox, a guard of some standing in the court, sundering the foes of the nation's rulers, using a sword art known as Truthseeker. Though Truthseeker is, strictly speaking, a sword art, its teachings can also be used with various other weapons, and in the realm's darkest hour, those who had to protect their homeland had little room to be fussy anyway. What truth you seeking with those axes? Okay, Ruin Drake. A horrifying dragon-shaped machine. It is said to be a war machine, Earth God, left behind by a now-destroyed nation. It mimics the appearance of the beings known as bishops, with some functional enhancements. Such machines have an even greater ability to absorb, or perhaps the right word is counteract, elemental powers than the bishops. From this ability, one can glimpse the scale of the ambition that the civilization that made these machines must have once had. These are used to counter elemental powers. Can I read this guy? Skywatch, a horrifying dragon-shaped machine, is said to be a war machine left behind by the now-destroyed nation. It makes the appearance of the beings known as bishops, some functional enhancements. Absorb, perhaps, frightening creatures or war collapse. Oh, well, anyway. Aeon Blight Drake. This dragon-shaped combat machine, oh my god, that's too bright, is a being that, oh my god, that's too bright, that inspires fear, much like the Lord who once ruled these vast lands. It is said that the now-destroyed realm once sought forbidden knowledge and attempted to create perpetual motion machines that could match or even surpass primordial life forms. This mysterious, tireless, mechanical monstrosity seems to be proof that they did indeed reach heights that mortals should never have attained. They tried to create gods. Maybe they're researching too much into AI. The AI was threatening to take over the world. Anyway, Primal Construct Repulsor. The guardians of the lost ancient desert ruins have power enough to punish any who would presume to disturb the pure dreams of their lord. These machines were not first built to be temple guards or palace defenders, but instead to rebirth the paradise that the foolish desert ruler dreamed of. Today that utopia is long gone, and the dreams and oaths forgotten by the world are now only found in the mantras inscribed upon these machines. Yeah, and we're breaking all of them. Primal Construct Reshaper. The guardians of the lost ancient desert ruins have power enough to punish those who are presumed to disturb their pure dreams of their lord. Lord of the blazing sun, who once ruled the desert, once promised his people a utopia on the other side of existence, though ultimately turned out to be a mirage made of folly. Today that utopia is long gone, and the dreams and the oaths forgotten by the world are now only found in the mantras inscribed upon these machines. Prospector. The Master of the Sands once took to studying taboo knowledge in an effort to create a dream paradise, and these machines may or may not have been the fruits of that research. Perpetual motion machine that rules over the many constructs scattered throughout the desert. Seems that the lonely ruler's will still indwells this place. Perhaps due to a friend's teachings in a dream, or perhaps because he coveted the power of the holy ones in the skies. The king created mysterious devices that should not exist in this world before founding his realm in these lands. Amidst the ruins of the city of the pillars, the ancient crystals still reflect the glory of the golden paradise, though none now live who remember the king's dreams. Why, this guy. Anyway. Eremite Linebreaker. A member of a loosely organized mercenary corps from the Golden Desert Sands, will work for anyone as long as the pay is good. This warrior wields a unique fist blade and joined the Eremites to seek out stronger foes. Rather than the pay, these warriors fight more to attain greater martial might. Yeah, get the ass whooped. Oh, this guy's cool. Eremite Sunfrost. A member of a loosely organized mercenary corps from the Golden Desert Sands. We work for anyone as long as the pay is good. A professional mercenary who cares about nothing outside of work and the mission at hand. To such people, their only game plan is to complete the mission, and their high asking prices is the market match that commitment. An ominous fragmented spirit is sealed within the weapon they use, awakening in moments of peril. Once it does, it can only be silenced by the cries of the vanquished, whether that be its wielder or its wielder's foe. Ah, it's using ancient technology in its weapons. They do kind of look like those constructs, primal constructs. I kind of remember I didn't read these, so why are they not new? I know, but I'll read Audible. Eremite Scorching Lawmaster. Lawmaster? Man, should have kept her alive. She would have known everything. A person hailing from the loosely organized mercenary bands of the desert. Even though they will work for anyone as long as the pay is good, they will never forget their roots in the Great Red Sand. After the collapse of its civilizations, the stories of the desert were passed down generation after generation in oral tradition, just like the sparks in the wind and the rain in the clouds. As time passed, some stories were lost, while others survived, albeit with significant changes. The Eremites is the umbrella term given to the tribes of the desert by those too ignorant or disdainful to learn the tribes' myriad differences. Within those referred to as the Eremites, many have also indeed already forgotten the tales of the desert. Fear not, however, for those who still remember will never betray the spirit of the sands yet flowing through their veins. What about this one? Floral Ring Dancer. The children of the desert have a rich tradition of song and dance, originally used to praise and serve the gods. The crafts were later adapted for battle, and the seduction of kings. Many tales of the sands feature dancers who murdered kings relaxed in their beds or standing atop high towers, even though all such gods and kings have now faded into the flowing sands. The memory of dance yet persists in the desert dwellers' veins. Ominous fragmented spirits are sealed within the weapons that they use, awakening in moments of peril. Yeah, same stuff. So they're using ancient weapons. Well, anyway, Electro Regisvine, a huge vine that has morphed into a monster through the conduction of high voltage currents through the ley lines. Electricity surges constantly from its canopy, like the unending rage of the earth itself. Ksharowa researchers once submitted that a complex circuit matrix might be set up around this creature to carry electrical energy to the city for use there. This plan was stridently opposed by scholars from Spontamad, who sacrificed 10 shroom boars to drive home the point about the dangers of utilizing electricity. You mean it's because of Spontamad that Sumeru doesn't have electricity? God dang it. They could have had electricity. They could have a Thomas Edison. Was it Edison? I'm pretty sure it's Edison. Anyway, floating animal fungus. A spore organism of some intelligence. It possesses extreme adaptability. This mushroom may have a sizable cap, but the umbrella-shaped structure is in fact hollow, and thus does not make for a particularly good meal. Hollow? Where's his brain at? Doesn't have a brain. Okay. Floating dendropungus. A spore organism of some intelligence, it possesses extreme adaptability. A researcher once said that these are some species of Dendrospectre. After this view was criticized, he changed his tack, claiming that this was just a literary turn of phrase. Whirling pyro fungus. Due to the abundant amount of pyro these creatures contain, they have a tendency to cause forest fires during dry seasons, and thus are considered a dangerous invasive species to the forest. Man, I guess other fungi don't like this guy. Whirling electropungus. A spore or whatever. Research has shown that this sort of fungal beast's internal electric current will change periodically. If further developed, perhaps this study may give rise to a wide range of uses. Yeah, we can have like whirling electrofungus light bulbs. Or lamps or whatever. Just imagine going down the street, you just have a street lamp with a whirling fungus on it. Whirling cryofungus. Putting fungi on ice does not make them taste any better, but it does at least help with relieving the heat. Oh, I can imagine. Stretchy pyrofungus. This creature only looks explosive. It is, in fact, a most gentle soul, as long as you don't get too close. I mean, it has a lot of spikes. Stretchy animal fungus. This mushroom quickly absorbs nutrients through its extended column, and its umbrella-shaped cap turns where the wind's flow carries it. Like a sail? Stretchy electrofungus. Unlike other fungi, this creature possesses a cap with a luminous tendril sticking out of it. When in danger, it will release small electric orbs as a form of self-defense. Free power source. Well, a stretchy geofungus. These shroom caps have hard outer layers derived from concretions of geoenergy. Its bodily structure is also quite likely to be denser than others of its kind, so as to withstand the heavy weight of its cap. Oh, yeah. Grounded hydroshroom, a mimetic lifeform made out of spores that has extreme adaptability. This creature may look like a bird, but it cannot fly. Due to the influence of hydro energies, it is astoundingly agile compared to others of its kind. Some researchers have inferred that this creature is in fact an aggregation of countless tiny spores, rather than a single entity. This creature has a position of command amongst colonies of fungi, and exhibits heightened intelligence to match. Winged dendroshroom. A not read that part. Going well past more mere appearances, this being even imitates the habits of birds. It can use its spore-built wings to fly in the sky, spreading yet more spores to yet more distant places. This creature has a position of command amongst colonies of fungi, exhibits... Okay. Going well past mere appearances, this being even imitates the habits of birds. When it flies about, it will scatter icy flowers in its wake. These crystal cores, too, are spores. Yes. Grounded geoshroom. This being has undergone almost complete keratinization due to the influence of geo. When one considers that fungi evolved from spores, perhaps this one might even be the foundation for a further evolution into some new life form altogether, if given time, that is. Jade Plume Atera shroom. Over many long years, this large fungal beast has morphed into a unique form. Its intelligence has already reached and perhaps has even surpassed real animals, and it will actively hunt prey to obtain sustenance. Its tail has a lovely jade plumage that seems very similar to that of the ancient sacred beast that the Spantamad school reveres. As far as the logic of mimesis, I didn't even pronounce that, is concerned, it seems quite likely that the two beings once walked the earth together. I think Spantamad is peacock. Consecrated beast. Consecrated horned crocodile. A reptile that has mutated after feeding from greater life forms. Majestic beasts are sometimes revered by human beings as the embodiment of a greater power. Their visages turn to analogy to feed in reference to a person, feeding their ego. However, the majority of beasts that have absorbed the greater power were slain by the overwhelming nature of the power itself. Only a few among their number evolved new forms. Fanged beast. A predator that has mutated after feeding from greater life forms. Survival of the fittest is written in the law of nature, but pets and consecrated beasts are exceptions. Human beings' bait and the remains of immortal beings are essentially deliberate or unintentional traps. The price of coveting the gift of the strongest is much more painful than being locked in a cage. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, well, whatever. Red vulture. A scavenging bird of prey that has mutated after feeding from greater life forms. The greater life forms devoured by consecrated beasts often have nigh immortal consciousness that can never be fully silenced or eradicated. The very power and consciousness gained by consecrated beasts devouring these life forms will, in turn, drive them to seek more violence and carrion. What are these greater life forms? I wonder. Consecrated scorpion. An anthropod that has mutated after feeding from greater life forms. Life forms are governed by the laws of evolution. Consecrated beasts exploited these rules by being fortunate enough to discover a long-dead carcass of a greater being before any of their competition ever did. Animals and humans often have far more in common than the latter is willing to acknowledge. Flying serpent. A reptile that has mutated after feeding from greater life forms. Though now imbued with the power of elemental manipulation, the consecrated beasts themselves still cannot fully digest the pieces of flesh they devoured from the immortal carcasses that they ate. Instead, the pieces slowly fused with the beasts themselves, weaving a bony shell over the body, one that shares a similar composition with a certain type of smelting material from Inazuma. Crystal marrow. Wait, so they ate crystal marrow? Is that it? They ate parts of a dead god, like they were infected by a Tatarasuna or something like that? Who's that ate it? You know, where if Satek ate one? He doesn't seem to be a consecrated beast. Satek, Weenut. An eyeless predator that dwells within the depths of the desert and uses sound and vibrations to seek out its prey. Legend has it that in the ancient past, before even the concept of time was created, these creatures thrived with their progenitors and offspring in a land of verdant grass and colossal trees, traversing through slick soil like fishes diving through the wet. With the passage of eons, the gifts of heaven have long reduced the soils to sand, rendering a great many creatures extinct. This branch of the genus was able to survive by adapting more toward earth-based living and became known as the Weenut. Some desert folk still mistakenly believe that Weenut is the final point of quicksand eel's life cycle, likely due to superficial similarities between the species' behavior. Look at this bastard. Storm Terror. You know what? Let's read about them. I don't know why they're red, because I definitely did not read them. While the four winds of Mondstadt, Dvalin, the dragon of the east, with the passage of long years and amid boundless darkness, even the purest gem will become dulled by dust, and even the noble dragon might be corrupted and cankered by hatred. But never forget that dust can be wiped away, and the power of doubt and poison can be shattered. Fly freely in the sky, just like you did in those days when we met, when I walked upon this land and sang the songs of the wind. You soared on high, looking down on the world from above. Today the sky is no longer swept by wind and snow. The green grass grows all over the earth, and it is beautiful. If you too could walk the earth and listen to the songs of shepherds and the scattered sound of wind chimes in the distance, if you could have tasted wine as sweet as honey, you would understand how wonderful it would have been if you were as I, witnessing your noble, beautiful form as you soared through the blue sky. Then you would know that this sky and this earth are both things worth fighting for. Yes. Lupus Boreas, the noblest and greatest of souls, who watches over the lupicle of wolfendom. When the wolf pack is imperiled, it will emerge in the form of a wolf and show forth its fangs and claws. The wolves of wolfendom are frightening phantoms to the people of Mondstadt, a blurred shape flashing through the forest, a chilling howl in the indeterminate distance, the creeping sense of eyes constantly nailed to their backs. Humans rarely have the opportunity to lock their eyes with a wolf, for this is the law Lupus Boreas laid down for its race. Yeah, that's why you don't see wolves. Child. Tartaglia, 11th of the Fatui Harbingers. He draws power from the ominous delusion he possesses, and fights using martial arts that he learned in a land of darkness. He is a pure warrior, with an insatiable lust for battle. Each bloody conflict, each life and death struggle, is a delightful trial to him. People say that the young child is famed throughout the land for his battle prowess, but he has never taken big talk of this kind to heart. After all, you shall be the eye of the storm, and the clashing of steel shall ever accompany you. The pitch-black memory of stepping into utmost darkness shall at last become the strength of which you will overturn this world. Ashtaha, an enormous dragon, as ancient as the mountains themselves. In an age that has all but faded from memory, he stood shoulder to shoulder with one who ruled over a harbor of stone. But in the end, the two came into conflict, and the dragon was banished to a dark place deep underground. Over the long years of his imprisonment, his power has slowly dissipated. He has also become disfigured from the various kinds of erosion he has been subjected to. The faint rattling of this dragon lord's shackles and his deep, angry growl echo through the bells of the mountains like memories of a bygone era. La Signora. Signora, the 8th of the Fatui Harbingers. Unlike other Fatui who use the authority granted by delusions, her delusion is meant to shackle a flame that will devour everything, as opposed to a weapon used to kill. It might be more fitting to consider this a tool of imprisonment. It was the embers of that flame, which had accumulated over many long years, that would break through the frosty seal of the delusion and apply a warped rouge upon her. The crimson dawn was reflected in her pupils, and at last she unfolded her flaming wings and flew towards the light. But that light is not the dawn, dear Rosalind. That is a sea of flame that will consume everything. A voice spoke to her amidst the light. Yet it mattered not, for she knew in her heart that the flames had devoured her long ago. I'm pretty sure who said that to Rosalind is the Tsaritsa. Magatsu mitake narukami no Mikoto. This is the form that the puppet that inherited the Raiden Shogun's authority takes when she is opposing those who threaten eternity. As the Raiden Shogun's assistant in pursuing eternity, she has never doubted, never felt fear, never given anything less than her best, never been disturbed by idle thoughts. She once heard about how A had shouldered a similar duty when Makoto was also present, suffering much agonizing loss in the process. When the two shadows overlapped once more, however, she could only see the countless fine fractures in what should have been her eternal will. Since fate is destined for cyclicality, she must fulfill her promise and declare war on her. Mine is the most supreme and noble form. Power over the realm has been vested within me, and I am the essence of all that is the Raiden Shogun. Naturally, I have also inherited the pain of A's countless losses and her will to attain eternity. Resolve, valor, love, hate, they will all twist in the river of time, but the rules will never change. Well, there you go. Shoki no Kami, the Prodigal. Shoki no Kami, as an artificial divinity created using all the might of Sumeru's 6 darshans. 4. Has power that rivals that of true gods. But those of this world, who call such a being a false deity, misunderstood the true meaning of the word. Shoki no Kami now understands countless things, and shoulders unassailable might, and may be said to surpass mortals. If gods must love mortals, then Shoki no Kami, who grants failure in equal measure to humanity, loves them also. If gods must watch over humanity, then Shoki no Kami, who has borne witness to infinite love, hatred, partings, grudges, and maddening anger, thus does he watch over mortals. Too much happiness have you had. It has made you foolish, arrogant, horrifying in your greed. Let this era end. Let the new god announce the defeat of the old. Foolish mortal, there is yet time for you to kneel. Just imagine that in Scaramouche's voice. Guardian of Apep's Oasis. Apep walked through the water like a fish with its many offspring, in a sea of fragrant grass, gigantic trees, and unimaginably long vines. Finally, the grass, trees, and vines withered and turned into dust, while countless things as minute as grains of gravel built a fragile kingdom upon Apep's land. Apep and its offsprings let the sea of sand rage like boiling water, and swept houses down as if they were falling leaves, until the day when the new Lord of Sand reconciled with the king who lost their homeland. The dunes under the sun belonged to humanity, while the dragon's oasis remained in the hearts of the dragons. Apep shared the knowledge of evolution with its many offspring, because spreading knowledge ensures dissemination, while the stagnation of hoarded wisdom courted only decay. Till the day the promise between it and the Lord of Sand was finally attained, with ultimate wisdom claimed, henceforth it reaped only sight of oblivion, of an endless calamity. Apep found itself swallowed alone amidst the scenery of the catastrophe. All the people, gods, dragons, beasts, birds, and fish, all memories, wisdom, words, and hatred were ground into colorless dust, and the last of the moonlight burned away into a rain of pale fire, falling on the barren land. Apep once deemed the bottom of the sea of sand to be its grave, the palace of a dispossessed king. The poison of wisdom would soon free Apep from the hatred and anger festering within it over countless moons. Apep had grown weary of the colorless apocalypse. Then finally, the young god and the golden traveler let it recall once again, even though the verdant land it once ruled had been reduced to this gilded wasteland. Even though Apep and its many offspring had grown twisted and wretched to secure their continued survival, therein Apep still treasured the sight and scenes of the oasis sparkling in its heart. Oh, makes me feel bad for Apep. Well, anyway, wait, what about this? Oh, there's a new dust bird. Observe. A bird that lives in the jungles of Sumeru. Its vivid colors make it much beloved. After being domesticated, it can be used as a courier for messages. It is said that the dust bird once possessed significant intellect and could learn human speech, even comprehending the written word. Red vultures. This large bird consumes remains, and its red feathers often seem a little sparse under the sunlight. These members of the eagle family are not actually native to the desert, instead appearing in the desert after the appearance of the ancient civilization ruled by King Deshret. They have also come to be seen as harbingers of death or disaster by some migrants of the desert due to their unique living habits. Oh, you know, now that I think about it... Oh wait, what the hell is this? A monster born from the high-density dendro energy that can float in the air. A researcher from Vahumana once did research into the ecological peculiarities of dendro specters, finding them to be quite similar to the legendary Aranara. His conclusion was that the Aranara were actually dendro specters. This researcher would become a little-known writer of fairy tales. Little known. But you know, you can find a... where is it? Consecrated scorpion. Over at near the head of a big old snake. I'll go there right now. Man, I came here to listen to the music, but there's no music. Dang it. I think it's right here. This is the head, right? Ah, there it is. Yeah, that's why this guy is here. Because it's eating crystal marrow. What the hell is it doing eating crystal marrow? Uh-oh. I'm just getting out here. You know, I'll just stay on the ground for this one. There's no point getting out there. I mean, it's not giving me music. Okay, very nice. Let's go back to archive. Back to living beings. We got missing something. Oh well, whatever. Desert fox. A sly animal, as elusive as a fairy, that often appears in folk stories, symbolizing unusual cunning and ancient memories. These animals call the vast desert home, and are smaller than most of their kin, which is possibly how they evaded the ancient calamities. Their long ears are an adaptation that helps them better live in their hot and dry desert home. Shroom boar. A forest boar that dwells in the rainforest. This creature has developed a certain marvelous symbiosis with the shroomkin. According to researchers' studies, shroom boars rely on the parasitic mushrooms perched on them for natural camouflage, which allows them to evade predators and survive in the jungles. However, this has also made it popular on the dinner table as naturally occurring pre-made food. Well, I guess they'll have like a mushroomy taste to them. Oh boy. Just think of as it's marinated. Anyway, masked weasel. An agile, mischievous little prankster. Its dark face gives the impression of a mask-wearing bandit. Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah. But in truth, these creatures are a gentle and friendly sort, and will rarely steal from human dwellings. Even so, the good-natured masked weasels will sometimes be taken advantage of by people of less good intent, using these creatures to satisfy their selfish desires for ill-gotten gain. Spinal crocodile. An ancient life form that dwells in the lake swamp, ferocious by nature, it will attack from underwater. Its evolutionary history in this land precedes even the advent of Sumeru's forest. In the age between gods with beasts' faces still had dominion. When gods with beasts' faces still had dominion over the world, these creatures were worshipped as gods by humans. Even today, the desert dwellers see their spiny red crowns as relics of ancient deities. I suppose. Wishbone tiger. A beast that resides in the woods. The king of the jungle, who regards the entire woodland realm as its territory, and will often survey its domain, even as a true king might. Any intruder shall be set upon with extreme prejudice. It has almost exaggerated amounts of fluff on its temple, and research indicates that this allows it to measure distances. It is said that the forest once played host to a true tiger, a divine beast that defended the woods. Upon its death, these creatures that resemble cats far more became the successors to its mighty name. Scorpion. Large arthropods that live beneath the sandstone that specialize in using their venom to hunt. Due to their ability to secrete highly toxic fluids when under attack, they have long been much sought after by plotters and alchemists alike, with these fluids becoming common ingredients in poison making. Indeed, human hearts are yet more dangerous than venomous scorpions. Well, they're not so venomous. I mean, they never poison me. Maybe they should. Flying serpent. A reptile with a limited ability to hover. Flying serpents do not truly possess the ability to fly. Their ability to hover seems to derive from their bird-like hollow bones, and the sparkle of anemo that imbues them with a subtle influence over the wind. The desert is a far away from the nation of Anemo, but its lands are still ever graced by gales, intent on eroding everything. Everything from cities to history will eventually be raised to sand grains by the winnowing currents that drift over the great red sand. Only creatures such as the flying serpents, which have learned to live with the wind, can continue to survive in the desert long after all has been reduced to dust. Sumpter Beast. Sumpter beasts are friends of humanity. Gentle by nature, they serve as important tools for production and transport. Sumpter beasts can adapt to various different natural environments. Long before the forest merchants ever noticed them, these hardworking animals were already the much relied upon domesticated beasts of the desert peoples. Shaggy Sumpter Beasts. Sumpter beasts are friends of humanity. Production and transportation. In Sumeru, your wealth is symbolized by the number of sumpter beasts you own. Large merchant caravans and eremites usually come with very sizable trains of sumpter beasts indeed, and this allows them to carry ample supplies and goods across both desert and forest alike. What about this guy? Tent tortoise. A reptile with a thick carapace. A gentle-tempered, slow-moving species. Because of its longevity, it is deemed by some people as a symbol of auspiciousness and wisdom. Due to its excessively gentle temper and slow motion, it is also used as a metaphor to insult people. Whatever the case, the tent tortoise is content to peacefully walk the lands. Human languages bear no meaningful connotations whatsoever to such a creature. But how do you kill it? Okay, missing a fish. Pure elemental life, dendrocrystalfly. Pure elemental life forms composed of drifting dendroparticles, as free and unbound as the butterflies they resemble. A glittering dendro creature that is the product of rising and condensing elements, and which fends off the ubiquitous power of dendro. They say that dendro crystal flies are the seeds of life. No matter how many times life withers, the earth will give birth to life anew, so long as the seeds do not die. Okay, forest tree frog. A small frog that often appears in wetlands. This animal is very common in wetland areas, and its body secretes a mysterious sticky substance that has much medicinal utility. Tree frogs are well suited to dwelling in rainforests. It is said that some tree frogs can glide between the trees. Research indicates that the principle behind such an ability is quite similar to that of wind gliders. How are they supposed to do that? They don't have any of those glider like things. Webbing, yeah. A small lizard with horns on its head, and that can often be found in shadowy bushes. These lizards have lovely red patterned tails that blend in with their surroundings. They discard these tails in moments of peril to confuse their foes. Lizard tails have special medicinal properties when dried and ground down into a powder. Some crazy alchemists have even found a way to process them into catalysts for explosions. Once they are separated from the body, these tails will lose their vitality and curl up. Oh man. Speaking of, I have seen a lizard just lose its tail. And bloody thing was so weird. It was just I don't know. I think its tendons were still active or something like that. And just kept wiggling about. It did that for like a good 10 minutes before it slowly stopped. Quicksand eel, a slender amphibian fish that usually lives in the desert. In order to adapt to the high temperatures and lack of water, they have not only taken on a fairly unique shape, but their reproductive methods have also changed. Though the researchers of the academia firmly deny this, the desert folk believe that the giant life forms within the sands are the mature and complete forms of these creatures following pupation. I think they're the weanut, basically. Scarab. Oh. Man, they're so bulbous. A hard beetle that dwells in the vast desert. Its shell has patterns on it that resemble those that mark the ancient desert ruins. Legend has it that when the Desert King ruled this land, the souls of those vanquished by him would be sealed within these insects by the magically skilled priests at great triumphs held in the City of the Pillars. The scarabs would then be charged with defending the sacred temples and palaces for all eternity. In the end, the temples would collapse and the palaces would fall, and only these golden insects would remain, fulfilling their ancient, forgotten oaths. Yes. Oh, I'm gonna catch damn eels. Oh, I didn't know you could catch these. These are from the chasm, yeah. Well, geography. Ah, chasm. When I first came here, the miraculous, terrifying geography silenced me. I have never forgotten the sense of utter awe and respect that I felt. But even such wondrous visions became monotonous after too much hustle and bustle on behalf of the Ministry of Civil Affairs. Speaking of which, I must thank the traveler for helping me continue with my own adventure. Kind of forgot who the NPC was. Court of Pillars. Wait, Court of Pillars? Despite the traveler's warnings, I still followed in his footsteps to arrive at this place. I can barely comprehend the sight of this huge sky blue crystal pillar before me. It cannot be from the continent. Only the heavens, with which it shares its shade, could have been its home. I have decided to explore deeper within through secret paths to uncover its secrets. I wonder how far I can press on, and what further records I shall leave behind. Oh, whoops. Inazuma. Inazuma's done. Sumeru, oh my god. Oh my god. At least I got all of them. A video forest. The root of all wisdom on earth. Under the luxuriant divine tree, the sages of the Academy City have accumulated all the knowledge there is to be gathered. Welcome to Sumeru, O traveler seeking answers. City above the forest, Gandavaville. The city of wisdom is ours, as is the forest of ignorance. Atop the tree lies the remnants of the kingdom of lost dreams. The village by the river, Vimara Village. There is nothing to Vimara Village apart from a tranquil life. Come, exhausted traveler, rest here a while. The harbor betwixt the two trees, Andravi Valley. Bah, the lectures of the sages are beyond boring. Why don't we get ourselves some fine wine garnished with floral honey, and set out on a journey across the 7 seas? Are there actually 7 seas? Memory of Alcazazare, Lokapala jungle. A purple garden lies before the palace in the depths of the woods. The flowers dance and the warblers sing. A more fitting scene for a lovely encounter one could not find. The Garden of Deep Thought, Padis Di. Countless flowers lie within the garden, each more lovely than the most beautiful crystal fly. This is the paradise of people of goodwill. A frontier beneath the high wall, Caravan Rebad. The mighty wall defends against the searing sandstorms that has also blocked the spread of wisdom's blessing. Is divine wisdom not meant to shine on all people? The Colossus watching Devantaka Mountain. Behold, thousands of years of ancient Khaenri'ah history lie before us. Varunastra, upon woods. The Varuna contraption shows forth its power, bringing forth the power of the water of life and turning Valuka into Vana, turning the barren lands into a land full of life. The Rain's End, Ashavan Realm. There is no rain here, and yet it is the birthplace of rain. The purification of Vana, rain begins and ends here. The land of Mortiima Forest. This is where the memories and dreams of the forest gather. It seems to have its own consciousness. Aranaga's Little Garden. Mortimer Forest. Here, the pomegranate sings and the apples clap. The world of the Aranara, Vanarana. No matter how dark the sky and land may get, as long as your spirit emits warmth like a golden sun, there will always be hope. Nursery of Lost Dreams, Lost Nursery. Friends will stroll through the forest again. That which is good will return, and the painful memories will vanish, just like a stream purifying itself, or a withered tree sprouting once more. The littlest dream, sand-embraced home. They might have done so clumsily, but they made many preparations to welcome their Nara friend nonetheless. The garden's new sprouts, land of grounded dreams. The forest will remember. The barren land where sand dances, land of Loa Satek. Once a god resided to the west of the wall of Samiel. Perhaps the desert was also a paradise for all living beings, and a place where wisdom gathered at that time. It is indeed a shame that nothing but endless sandstorms and bleak ruins remain to be seen here today. Towers of Betrayal, land of Loa Satek. These huge obelisks have been standing here since the death of King Deshret. The desert dwellers call them the Towers of Betrayal, and regard them as symbols of shame that serve as constant reminders of the fact that the Desert Kings had broken their oath with King Deshret. The obelisk's true history could date back to a period preceding that of those short-lived desert kingdoms, but it has unfortunately long been forgotten. And the obelisk was meant to be infused with a dendro energy, and to keep the Marinara at bay. The Marana. Not Marinara. That's something else. Refugee shelters. Aru village. The well-versed poets of Tulay Tula, the city of Sapphire. Thamudian gladiators with golden eyes in Saleh. Jin in Ay Kanom. Countless kingdoms that rose and fell after the great kingdom of King Deshret collapsed, together with their heroes and legends, were all immortalized in ancient nursery rhymes in this village, echoing around the children's beds. After all those years, the remnants of King Deshret have long muddled the boundaries between histories and myths, blending them all seamlessly into their memories. Thamud Oasis, land of Loa Satek. The golden-eyed Thamudians and the Seven Walls, their magnificent city-state, rose up over the corpses of ancient kingdoms and would itself be sucked down into the vortex of wars between nations obliterated. The short-lived kingdom has been lost for a long time, but the oases are still like gems that adorn the sea of sand, accommodating caravans and wanderers with springs and plants alike. The Mausoleum of King Deshret. The Mausoleum of King Deshret. The huge cone is like a supporting pillar between the high sky and the yellow sands that has stood in the middle of the desert since time immemorial. Standing in front of it, be you a commoner, a wealthy man, or well-informed researcher, you shall feel that you are but a few grains of sand all the same. The thousands of entombed chambers, hyperstyle desert. In dark places where the sands do not ravage, countless chambers and statues slumber, waiting for the time when their master shall visit them again. The bottomless hole. Legend has it that in the depths of the desert, an ancient god tried to recreate the underworld and the heavens, so that sinners would fall into the underworld and the ones favored by him would live in paradise. Aru Shut, the Mausoleum of King Deshret. There are neither coveted treasures nor gem-laden chambers at the pinnacle of the Mausoleum of King Deshret, only the desolation and decay of the desert, and the shreds of a grand dream. The giant of the wind-eroded valley of Dari. The giant lies silent in the valley, and the demonic swarms from the abyss now seem almost like poetic exaggerations. Only a power great enough to destroy mountains serves as the best proof that what the researchers say is nothing but the truth. Lifeless Dar el-Shifa. Dar el-Shifa. The hospital, named after a prayer for patients, is now missing the busy figures of the doctors and the glad songs of those who had recovered, leaving naught but dilapidated remains. Verdant Fields Vantage Point, land of Lower Satek. From the barren desert, you can behold the forest realm of hidden wisdom, its verdant silhouette secure behind the mighty wall that blocks out the sandstorms. Coldly looking down its nose at the desert realm, swept by searing winds. Surely, the vassal lords, whose fragmented kingdom survived King Deshret's fall, must also have looked upon that land of plenty with bitter jealousy. Mount Damavand, where sandstorms never cease, Tanit camps. An unending sandstorm swirls at the heart of Mount Damavand. The desert people say that this sandstorm hides the location of the eternal oasis. The moon blue canals, the sands of Al-Azif. The ancient tales of the desert people tell of this place being the site where the three canals met, nourishing fertile fields and rich gardens. But nothing remains now of those halcyon days. Not halcyon days, only the dulled shades of a dream. The Tanit encampment, Tanit camps. Part of an ancient structure's ruins, once home to the ghosts of people of old. Now it is the home of a desert tribe known as the Tanit. The palace abandoned by the gods, the temples forsaken. The ruins of the Temple of Gurubad. A desert songs say that long-lived giants once dwelled here, but they were cast down into a rift in the earth within a single night, never to be seen again. And so did the great temple also become some ruins in a valley rift. The Temple of Buried Dominion, Bait al-Muazzam. The ancient people of Gurubad used to worship their god king of the desert in these long halls and grand courts, but forgetting caused the gulf between the noble and the base to lose its meaning. Weenut tunnels. The mortal palaces have long fallen, and the Weenut rule here now, transforming it into a court and garden more to their liking. The Lost Hermitage, a Pep's resort. It is said that a friend of King Deshret, once built their court in a great cavern beneath the dunes. Weenut served here as court officials and flying serpents as companions, but today both creatures have lost their noble wit and vigor. The unforgettable river valley, debris of Panjvahe. This great river valley once irrigated Punjab here. The nobles of Gurubad once sailed in ornate boats, releasing their sleek hunting falcons, but even those proud hawks would devolve into the wild red vultures of the desert. The gap of the hidden ruins, Wadi al-Majush. Mighty Gurubad and the monumental buildings raised in its heyday could not, in the end, escape falling into the dark valley rift. And as if their destruction was not humiliation enough, their mansions and estates would come to be nests for roving bandits. The Court of Dried Springs, Bait al-Sukr. The ancient people of Gurbat memorialized the years of the gardens with wine, song, and dance, but forgetting caused all joys to wither and crumble to dust. The Court of Withered Life, Bait al-Haya. The ancient people of Gurbat once planted many hued plants and succulent fungi along these halls and courts, but forgetting caused all life here to become barren. Where a titan's shins were broken, Wounded Shin Valley. Wounded Shin Valley has been its moniker for a long time, but now that an iron giant has lost its footing in this place, its name surely bears some extra weight now, no? Was it named after Sashran, whatever. The temples forsaken. To the desert tribes, this abandoned ruined square goes by the name Safe Sashran. Researchers believe that this was once a training field for ancient war machines. Training field? Lilupar's jail. Lilupar's cell. What sort of dire criminal did this prison? That has now become an oasis once hold? And what changes will her awakening bring to the lonesome desert tribes? Remnants of the ancient orchid, Wadi al-Majush. Before it fell into the Dark Valley Rift, the Great Gate of Gurubad was once a place where poetry and beauty gathered. Only the cream of the crop had the privilege of standing here and beholding the noble mortal lord. Ad hoc headquarters of the Fatui Expeditionary Force, Wadi al-Majush. A vanguard troop from the snowy land in the far north has set up camp here amidst the whispers of ancient shrines. The paradise of eternal peace, the orchid of Paradisa. Its leaves shall not be seized by autumn's arms, and the circles of time shall not avail to subject its newborn spring joy to the curse of years. Elder pine atop the wastes, hills of balsam. The kind spirit residing within the towering balsam has sheltered a great many warriors returning from their trials, but now none remember the details of that ancient compact. Forge of the abandoned foundry, Hange Afrasiab. In the past, there were humans that yearned to use their own might to surpass the gods. This massive furnace stands as some manner of symbol relating to that desire. Although the ancient foundry has long been abandoned, the sparks within the forge yet flicker still. Gate of Everlasting Morning, Hange Afrasiab. A grand and majestic gate leading to a world beneath the soil. It is sealed tight as of the present, and the once prosperous kingdom that lay behind the door has also long since turned to rubble. Yeah. That's why they believe that Khanri is behind this gate. Valley of the Unsullied, Tunigi Hollow. The filth pouring out from the abyss will eventually recede, and lost descendants of the Dari will be shocked into uprightness. As a chorus of thousands sing their song, there will come a lull to the rains. Amrita Nourished Nest, Realm of Farakurt. The purest Amrita nourishes the homeland of the Pari, with only unbesmirched warriors allowed entry into these forbidden grounds. The countless scattered kindred of the Kvarna are fated to converge here in eventuality. Haverstokum, realm of Farakurt. Praise be to the Haverstokum, extinguisher of the flaming sign searing the sky, and cooler of the timely rains that will cleanse the land of its filth. Days that bask in the Kvarna's resplendence are as dawn rising through the murky fog crowning the mountains. Holy shit, that's a lot. Well, anyway, my throat's dry, so I can't continue. Next time I stream this, it will not be an Audible. It will instead be this. Not only that, but some world stuff like Vanarana. I gotta check on the garden. That's about it. I know I'll figure out something. Or maybe I'll do some hangouts or something. Yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed listening to that. Anyways, beach.